Well, the hard topics that I often talk about in my classes and when I teach is, I ask people what they want to do and what is something that is really, really fun. And then the question is why are they doing that? Right? Like at this moment, why are you not pursuing this thing? That's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is all of the excuses that we often have, and they're really focused on the negative. They're really what's called, the idea that I really like. I guess it's Dan uh, Fe- Felier. I think I'm saying his right name wrong. He's at Dartmouth. He's got this paper, and I can't remember who is with. But from many years ago, and it's probably 10 years old now, about censoring behaviors. And we have these desires that we really, really want to do. It's a quantitative piece, but the basic idea is like there's a lot of actions that we choose not to do. And we look at that and we say, oh, well, I can never do that. That's too hard. And we never pursue that thing. And so statistically, if you were to look at this, statistically, you're censoring outcome, right? So there's this whole group of things that we're told, and the reason is culture often teaches us to pursue success. That's a big thing. That's 50% of the problem, right? That to pursue not just success, but what you think will be perceived as successful, and um, what is like the best choice. Uh, you could look at so one person that I highly, highly, highly respect. I've worked with him. Um, Probably the most brilliant social scientist today. Uh, yeah, I don't know if he'll win the Nobel Prize. He's still pretty young, but he's got some really smart ideas. Is Yurka Denrell, and the idea I don't know if he, but but the idea is that a lot of the things that he talks about is that there's all these outcomes that we pursue or we don't pursue because it's sort of a natural thing that we do with learning. That means you're actually doing things that are wise, right? You're picking up on things, but that means in a chaotic environment, in a complex environment, complexity. If I'm saying chaos or uncertain is maybe the better term, is that there's outcomes that have pretty large margin of error. You can't really estimate them. That's kind of what real life is, right? We can't estimate the outcomes very well with any particular action or a complex environment where there's lots of interacting things that happen. You can't, and it's just really hard to predict. And you could do the same action 100 times and get 100 different outcomes, right? Like a lot of environments are like that. Some environments are, but a lot of environments are like, right? Particularly with anything that's new and novel. And so we end up not pursuing these things. We look at it and we say, I'm never going to do this thing because I'm too scared to try. And, all the different excuses that we have, the I need to be successful. Um, I can't do it. I feel embarrassed doing it. Um, I look at it and I think it's too hard. I don't have the resources. All these things, like these are just super common things that people go through, and they're real legitimate concerns. I'm not downplaying them. They're really truly big things that are built up in our brains. Um, and ultimately, we have to look at it. We have to just push back. And how do you push back, right? Like, I'm not going to say go out and go do something giant. That's silly. Push back by doing things that are really small and embarrassing. It's like mildly embarrassing, right? That are kind of uncomfortable. Um, it might be, and I don't like dancing. There's this great video by, I'm blanking on her last name. Anyways, it'll come to me. But this is great video. Um, where this researcher is talking about, I get terrible with names, but talking about how they had a fear of dancing, and they just tried it and they had fun doing this thing. And I mean, if you think about it, there's a really minor, insignificant thing, and yet we don't pursue these things because we're afraid of what other people are going to think of us. So really, 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 really powerful emotion, or whatever you want to call it, powerful trait, whatever it is, right? It's evolutionary programmed in us to not stand out, right? Being a nonconformist is very incredibly hard, and for a good reason, right? Like, there's some things you don't want to be a nonconformist in, and that can really wreck an environment, right? Like, it wrecks the social environment, and probably the natural environment too. But these things are super powerful, and we have to often fight against them, right? Like, there's these things called breaching experiments by, I'm blanking on the guy's name. He's from the 1960s. I think it was Garfield is his name, I want to say. I think. Um, anyways, um, like, social psychologists, sociologists, and I've talked about it before on this channel, try to do something that doesn't fit within the norm. Like, go out, here's an experiment to try. Put a little bit of lipstick on your nose and just walk around with a little bit of lipstick on your nose. Really insignificant if you think about it. But think about how other people are going to react to that, right? It's really, really insignificant. Think about how you're going to feel with that. You have to get comfortable with the sort of minor things like that. Or even, you might even be a little bit more minor, is put lipstick on your teeth. Or if you're a guy, right, like, maybe on one of your fingernails, put fingernail polish on just one of them. I'm not saying, go and wear a dress and, go to the extreme. I'm just saying, like, one little tiny thing, and see how you can, how you feel about it, right? And it's going to be this super powerful emotion where you're going to say, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm very scared. But it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And that's what you often have to push against, right? Is that feeling that we all experience. And that's how we're going to get through a lot of things. And it's not necessarily a fear of failure. It's not a fear of it's not like often sort of a rational thing, right? And even though it's deeply programmed, so it is rational, but it's not a rational thing in the sense that it's going to very much harm you. But it's something that really is tough to do, and we have to practice that. If you want to get good at doing things that allow you to find opportunities, that allow you to just live a healthy life, right? I'm not saying go out and do something entrepreneurial, or, go make $1 million or whatever, right? Like, sort of stupid things like that. I'm saying it's just like living a healthy life. It means that you have to just try things sometimes that are outside of your norm. Like, with a restaurant choice, for example, right? Like, you might have I've got like a burger place I love to go to, right? I've got some burger places I love to go to. And trying things that are outside of the norm require you to sort of push that urge. There is a massive literature on the basic story behind this, but the powerful emotions behind it is different. Where we have to really work on that and train ourselves. And there's not a lot of research on the sort of training of this, but you have to just stand up and say, I'm going to do this, and do something that is relatively minor and pursue it every day. And it's not something that you could do once and it goes away. I still get weird fluttery feelings every time I do either it's the videos or the the podcast or whatever, I still get them every single day, but I do it every single day. And it gets a little better, not great, a little better. And I know I'm gonna be 100 years old and still have these fluttery feelings. But that's the difference, right? Is I'm gonna feel this. I know I'm gonna feel it. And in a sense, I could sort of rebrand it and say it's excitement. Um, or I just say, hey, this is part of it. This is a thing. And I get used to feeling the emotions that you might go through, feeling weird or fluttery, or, I got my face gets flush or whatever, right? Like all the sort of basic things that you can experience, and just know that's just part of it. Right? Like that is the experience. And you do it. The more that you do it, and the more that you try to smile through it, the better off it gets. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.